I'm gonna pan that up a little. And I'm gonna scoot back a little bit more. Here we go. Alright guys, so I made a mistake. I know it's hard to believe, but I wanted to put this in to kind of test fit it, and when I started to put it in, I realized it wasn't coming back out, which is kind of good because it is a press fit. However, these holes here lined up great. Obviously this one went all right. I actually had to hammer a little bit here to get that straightened out. Right here I need to kind of take a grinder to these holes a little bit, but they're pretty close. It kind of got pushed over some with the sides. And so I'm going to take a piece and put in here and push against this and tack the outsides down, but I want to make sure they're pushed against this part before I weld them. The next thing I got to do is I went ahead and I cut this morning off camera, but I've got to take the plasma cutter now and come in here and cut out this angle in behind this. That way my piece will fit through there. So I'll have to do that as well. So I'm going to shove this in there, like so. I'm just going to put a little weight on it, and I'm going to tack just a little bit. So now that is up against that. So I will tack that with a weld, and I'll tack this with the weld. And then I'm going to come over to this corner and do the same thing. Then I'm going to cut the excess of the top of this off, and I'm going to flush this with this right here. The main reason I brought this tab up is so this becomes a flush mount for my connector. And I'll show you guys that here in a little bit while I lay them holes out that way. So I'm going to spend some time flushing this up around through here and welding it in. And take the plasma cutter to this, clean it out. So we'll see you guys in a minute. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you where I'm at right now, and then we'll take a closer look at it. So the tray's in, I've welded it all the way around. I can still pull my rod out, move my ball hitch. I can flip it over, or I can make me another attachment that fits down in there. This is just sitting in there right now, but I've got the 4 holes drilled for it. They line up. That this will open up like so, and I can plug my electrical connection in there for my trailer. And these right here, these ones lined up real good, these ones didn't, and I kind of want a few of my corner holes to be a little bigger. So I'm going to take this little fella right here, and I'm going to put it on a drill or a high-speed tool we have, and I'm going to clean those holes out and clean the corners out. So I'm going to take the camera off the stand and show you a little bit better about what's going on here. That right there, and to give you an idea how big that is, there's my size 12 in there with it. So you can see those holes lined up pretty good, and these ones are a little off, so I'll just take and clean them out a little bit. It'll be fine for what it is. I got pretty tight right there for some reason when I put it in, so I took a chisel and knocked that down. When I welded underneath of where this rod came through, so I didn't have to do anything with this. And then I flushed all this up here, and I put that on, and I took the plasma cutter, and I cut everything underneath of there out. So that right there just goes in like that. And so that's done. And I left the holes in the corners. So that one there is real nice. So I got to make them a little bit bigger because I don't want anything to clog them up. But that's mainly for like water drainage, because this is a tray in the bed. And so now I need to measure out my cover, right, and cut it. And then I'm going to drill a hole in it for a finger hole. And then I got to make my hinge mechanism, which I'm not going to use like a standard piano hinge. So I'm going to use that rod to make me something that hinges. So, face is all dirty. Wonder how that happened. I'm going to cut my plate, prep it for the hole, and then I'll start working on my hinge piece. And I'll show you guys how I'm going to do that. Alright guys, so this piece here, this was originally the piece I cut out of this when I cut this opening. And I've trimmed a little bit off each side. And I made me a finger hole. So that will set in there just like that. Now it's just a little sloppy. By the time I put my hinge in there, it won't be. But then I can reach in there with my finger, grab this, and pull it open. Now, the way I made this right here actually sticks up too high with this on. So I will need to flip the ball over when I'm not using it in order to have this thing closed flush. Now, you might think, well, that's an issue with design, and maybe I should have designed it a bit deeper, but I like the height of the bed, and that's a minor thing because I can just easily change it out anyways, so not a big deal. I'll show you real quick how I got these. If you look, let me get up here. All my corners look pretty uniform. And so I'll show you an old trick that I use in order to get uniform corners like that right there without them having sharp edges on it. So we'll go over to the welding bench for that. Alright, so you've got a piece that's got 4 sharp edges on it and you want them all rounded, but you want them all to look the same. If you're positive everything's square, which this piece is not, this is just a piece that was laying on the... So what you'll do is you go find your washer that's got the rounded edge that you desire, and I'll just hold it up flush with each side, and then I'll take my scribe and I'll just draw my little scribe right there. You can also do the same thing using a Sharpie. Just draw around the washer. Now with the scribe, I will go to the line I made. With the Sharpie, I will get rid of the Sharpie. And then you can just take your angle grinder with your flapper wheel or grinder wheel and go ahead and just grind it down to where you get rid of all the Sharpie, or you come up to your scribe line and then you stop. And then everything will be uniform all the way around your plate. So that's something I've done for a while. It's just use an old washer that's got the desired roundness. You can go bigger, smaller, whatever. But do that and that'll help you get your corners. Now I'll move on to the next part of this project. Alright, for this next part, I need a cameraman. So, hi guys, I'm enlisting some help. Alright, so next thing is I got to make my rod, which is going to hinge everything. And so I've got a bend on this right here already. And notice that's a pretty sharp 90, which is what I wanted on the end of it. And so there's a couple ways you can go about bending it. Now this is pretty thick rod. So one thing I'm going to do is I started it off by sticking it in the vise here. And I had this piece of pipe over it. And I got my bend started with this piece of pipe. Once I got done with that, if you go back to some of the other stuff we've done in the past, I've made this little setup right here that goes inside of our press. And I actually took the rod and got it set down in there and then started pressing until it used it to make that real sharp 90. So now I've got to make an offset, and I'll go show you guys that. And then I got to make 2 90s up here, another offset and a 90, and lay it all out in one piece. So we'll go through doing that. So when you get your piece bent up, looks like something like that right there. Now these bends are not exact, but they're close enough. It gives me 1.25 inch offset on the ends. I'm about 11.5 side to side on the outside of that. And these are about 7/8 from here. So that's exactly how I wanted it. And I'll show you what we're going to do next. Now, on this bench, we keep a lot of the scrap metal because we work out of this junk pile to make parts. And so here's a piece of pipe left over. So I'm going to use this and cut myself a couple pieces that I'm going to use as a hinge right here in the bottom of my plate. So I'll cut my couple pieces and then I'll show you how it's going to work. Alright, so it's still hot, but I'll show you what I did. I took 2 pieces of pipe and I welded them up here. Now you'll see why I done that later. These 2 pieces of pipe, I had to split them in order to get them around the bar, but I welded them about 4.5 inches to the center of the edge of this plate, to where they're welded at. So now we'll go test fit this in the bed of the truck, and I'll figure out where I need to drill the holes at for those. Okay, first I would like to apologize. I'm getting a little excited today, so I'm getting ahead of myself and forgetting to turn the camera on because this project is now complete. So I'll show you what I did. So there is the cover with the hole drilled in it. And so you'll see a black line there and a black line there. When I first laid this down with the piece on it, I laid this edge over against the weld over here and took and made a mark at the center of where my rods ended up at. Okay, this one over here. And when I done that, I knew I wanted to come down about 1 inch from the angle iron, and I made the offset 1.25 inches, and this is 1/8, and that allowed me about 1/8 inch clearance. And so what ended up happening is I drilled holes 1 inch down, centered on my marker lines. Okay? And so what that allows me to do is let me hold this up here. I'll do this one-handed. Finger hole, pull over and set. And so there it is. It sits just like that. I put the extra pieces of pipe on the bottom side like that to act as feet so it doesn't lay this sharp edge against my bed. But Kagan, if you would, sir, hold that. Stand up high where you can see real good. I'll get on this side. So I got to blow out all my metal shavings and everything, but so there the bed is, right there, flush, everything's flat as it can be. Pull out, just like that. And you can actually grab it like this, and pull it back, and let go. So, just like that. And nothing's rubbing here, everything's clearanced. The only thing sitting on the bed are the 2 round sections of the 4 pieces of pipe. This right here will have to be fully installed, but there's my electrical connection. Here is my pin, so I can pull that out, put my ball over, and now I can haul a gooseneck. So I am calling this deal done. So guys, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button because we got a few more things to finish on this, and it's getting painted and put on the truck. And see you guys later.
I will probably also see you guys later, but I will be seeing you again. I know, it's been a while. I've missed you guys. I don't know if you missed me.
Kagan has a hard time getting out of bed. He's going to get better though.